How is everybody doing?
Great.
Doing good.
Great.
Great.
Great. This is Cooking and Learning with Care segment with Chef Destiny and Chef Asya, coming to you straight from our home. What's today? Tuesday.
Yep.
All right, Tuesday, our cookie baking day. Y'all ready?
Yes.
Do everybody got their ingredients ready for tomorrow who are participating? I hope it's everybody.
I can't hear you well.
Me neither.
Um,
We can't hear you, Destiny. Can you turn up the volume?
Yeah.
it's on 100. Can y'all hear me at all?
Now,
Hear
yeah.
you. Low. Thank
Okay.
you.
I don't know what's
Little.
going on. Well, I hope y'all can hear me enough, but Asha, you can go ahead and get started.
That's better. Good morning, everybody. Hope
Good
everybody's
morning.
okay on this beautiful Tuesday. Today I'm going to share with you a French onion soup recipe. I'm not sure if y'all are familiar with French onion soup, but hence its name, it comes from France. The French are known a lot for butter in their dish, and this simple soup incorporates all of that. Um, for this French onion soup, you can use any type of onions. I personally wouldn't use the onions, but your whites, your yellows, your sweet onions, your red onions, that's what you're going to use. This soup, the recipe I'm going to give you can cook for two people or one person or however, but it's enough for two people. First, what you want to do is you want to start off with four nice size medium to large onions. I use a yellow onion, and you're going to slice it very thinly. Okay. Then you're going to put it into a saute pan with butter. This dish uses a lot of butter. Um, and you're going to do a process called caramelization. Okay. Caramelization is when you're getting the vegetable or protein, but in this case, we're using onions. When you're getting the onions to be a nice, soft, brown color, the onions are going to be translucent, but it's going to be brown, but it's not going to be burnt. Okay. So let me show you if y'all can see. This is the process of caramelization. So we have nice brown bits on our onions, okay? And this is
Yeah.
what you want to do to saute your onions in the butter. This process, I cooked about 2 onions for y'all today, and it took me about 30 minutes to saute these onions to be nice and sweet and caramelized. You need
30.
to add a sprinkle of sugar to the onions and some salt to the onions because you want the onions, like I said, to have a sweet, nutty feel. Taste, flavor, excuse me. While the onions are sauteing, you're going to have your beef stock simmering on the stove. This dish goes traditionally with beef stock. If you want to make it a vegetarian dish, you can, of course, use vegetarian stock, vegetable stock, but it traditionally goes with beef stock. You can buy canned, bought, or boxed beef stock, but you want to fortify the flavor. You can use celery, carrots, onion, which is a mirepoix, as we know, and have those vegetables simmering in your beef stock. You also can add a couple of cloves of garlic, some black peppercorns to have those infused simmering in your beef stock. I also use fresh thyme. I like to cook with thyme. You can use thyme and rosemary and have those fresh herbs simmering in your beef stock. So when your onions have reached the point where the butter is now gone and they are turning brown, you're going to take your hot beef stock and you're going to start slowly adding it to the pan. You want brown bits that are on the pan, you want them to come up, okay? So this is gonna be a slow process. You're just gonna slowly add your beef stock to, like I said, to get all those brown bits to come up. Once you have added about 2 cups of beef stock to your onions and you've gotten worked up all those brown bits so that they come up, this is the base for your soup. It's a simple soup, okay? This is the base for your soup. You're gonna then let that simmer for about 10 minutes so the beef stock and the caramelized onions get to know each other. Now, traditionally, they also use vermouth, which is a type of liquor, or you can use sherry wine vinegar, or you can use red wine, maybe a half a cup or so, and add that to your simmering beef stock and your caramelized onions. But if you don't have vermouth, if you don't have red wine, and if you don't have sherry vinegar, it's okay. It's still going to be French onion soup. But traditionally, they use those 3 things, adding to your stock and to your onions. So while that is simmering for about 10 minutes, you're going to get you some nice, good, crunchy French baguette bread. You're going to slice it, put it into an oven at about 375, and you want the bread to get nice and toasty and crunchy. When the bread has been in the oven for about 5 to 7 minutes, you're going to melt some cheese on top, and that bread is going to be the top of your French onion soup. So we have our nice French baguette. We have some good cheese melted on top. You can use any cheese. Traditionally, they use a Gruyere or a Swiss cheese, but any good melting cheese like a provolone, a mozzarella, you can use any cheese of your choice, okay? So you just melt the cheese on the bread. We have our soup simmering on the stove. Now I'm gonna show you how this dish looks. And like I said, it's a very simple dish, very simple flavors. Before this cold winter months that we have ahead of us, this is a good warm you up from the inside out soup. Let me show you how it looks put together. And the bread, the crunchy bread is going to soak up all of the flavors of the soup. And when you bite into the soup, you have the crunchy bread, the cheese, the onions, the good rich beef broth. It's really delicious. Everybody can see. Here's our French onion soup. This is, like I said, traditionally how it's served, with a crouton or a large piece of French baguette bread with some melted cheese on top. And underneath, you see the good, luscious onions. And it's a very, very, very delicious yet simple soup. Are there any questions about this dish?
How do you eat it? I mean, do you just kind of pick up the bread, you know?
You can kind of pick up the bread, use your spoon a little bit, break off a little piece, because you know when that bread is sitting in the soup, it's going to start to soften up on the bottom.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so you just dig in there, you know, just dig in there. If you wanted to, you could cut the bread into squares, like kind of crouton like, if you wanted to. That way you can eat it a little bit better, but just eat it simply like that. Sometimes you can see it prepared like in restaurants. My bowl was not oven safe, so that's why I didn't put it in there. But sometimes in restaurants, they will have an oven safe bowl, and they'll put the bread and the cheese on top of the soup so that it's all melted on top and coming, if that makes sense. But that's traditionally how it's eaten, with the bread and the cheese on top and the French onion soup underneath.
Question, can it be done without cherry wine, red vinegar, what's the other one you pronounce with a B?
Yes, it can be done without vermouth, which is a liquor, without sherry vinegar, or without red wine. So if you don't have that, yes, you can make the same mouth feel, the same flavors can be done without those 3. Additionally, what the French use to their soup.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
What I'm
Chef, there's
what I've seen is when they serve French onion soup, they have the bread caught on the side, and you just kind of dip it in the soup. It's
Right, yes. Yes, you're correct. Some restaurants do it like that. The traditional way is to put that bread on top.
Thank
Yes, ma'am.
you. When I go to Paris, then I know how to eat it.
Yes, you do.
Yes,
We.
yeah.
But chef, that's all I have.
Okay. But I was just gonna add to that. I can attest I've made millions of French onion soups working in hotels, and the bread is normally on the top with the cheese, and we melt it.
Yep.
That's how they traditionally do it. So we are going to start with our cookie dough.
Yep.
So for this recipe, I'm gonna try to talk a little loud so y'all can hear me. So for this recipe, you will start off with a half of cup of butter. We're gonna get that now. We're gonna use our move over butter. About a half a cup is there. And I like this butter because it's whipped. It's nice and fluffy.
Where did you get it from? Because they didn't have it in my Kroger's. Did you say Wayfield?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they didn't have it in Kroger's yesterday.
Yeah, Wayfield. So we're gonna add that. Make sure you get it all right. Next, we're going to add 6 ounces of cream cheese. And I've always liked, since a kid, the cream cheese sugar cookies
Hmm.
versus just the regular kind. So one of these is normally 8 ounces, so we're just gonna cut about this much off for 6. And it has it on there too. Maybe I can see that. The ounces at the bottom.
Warm temperature.
I guess I left this out at room temperature for about 30 minutes.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, that's cute.
6 ounces. And then we'll need a cup of regular white granulated sugar. But first we're gonna cream the butter and the cream cheese a little first and then add our sugar. I'm gonna slowly start to add our sugar. Scrape our sides. And I hope everybody knows that sugar, butter, is the base of all cookies.
Your voice went down.
All right, that looks about right. I'll just give y'all a look in there. I know what
Yes.
it is. Next, we are going to add our dry ingredients. And if you want to, you can mix these together in a bowl first. I would suggest you do that. So I have 3 cups of all-purpose flour. To that, I'm going to add a teaspoon of cornstarch. And even it off, level it off. To that, we're going to add 3/4 teaspoon of baking powder and salt. Everybody keeping up so far with the recipe?
Yeah.
Yes.
Next is the salt. I'm using sea salt.
Does it matter what kind of salt you're using when you're baking, you know, like kosher salt or regular salt?
Unless the recipe calls for a specific salt, I would say no. But I like sea salt because you know it's a little healthier, and the pink Himalayan salt is a little healthier. And that is all for our dry ingredients.
How much salt was that?
3/4 a teaspoon.
Teaspoon, 3/4.
Yes.
Okay.
So now I'm going to first we're going to add 1 egg. And vanilla extract, of course. We're going to add 2 teaspoons. Excuse me for 1 second. You know, I got a little mess. I can't function. All right. You're also gonna need a cutting board and a rolling pin because we have to roll it out to get our shapes for our cookies. So we're gonna blend up our eggs, the vanilla. And I'm gonna scrape one more time, just so you don't have no cream cheese lumps. I love how cookie dough smells like at this point when you add that vanilla extract.
Yeah.
It smells like a bakery or something. All right, now we're gonna add our dry ingredients. And I'm just gonna do a little bit at a time because I don't want it flying all over my face. All right. Looking really good, y'all. I'll show y'all in a second. The last scrape down. Make sure you got any flour or mixture that's on your paddle off of there as well, so everything can be nice and incorporated. One more good rinse.